Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Osereme and today's video is going to be about the making of this beautiful dress. I made this for my little niece. It was her birthday last week and for some reason she refused to stand for any picture. She preferred to start hiding behind people just to avoid taking these pictures. But anyways, this is what it looks like on her as you can see. So let's go ahead and get started with the tutorial. Alright guys, so these are the materials I got for the making of this dress. I got several flowery designs here. Let's leave that aside first. For the fabric, I have lining here and I have Mikado silk as the fabric itself. This was what I used and I got 2.5 yards, but I think I used even less than 2 yards for the making of her dress. And then I got these flower designs and then this lace um trimmings here. I was just trying to get something that would look similar to what I saw in the picture that I was trying to recreate. So I got beads and I got these stones as well to just decorate the waist area and also the sleeve area as well. Now this one you might not be able to get exactly what I have here because I wasn't even able to get exactly what was in the picture that the mom sent me. So I just did something that was close to it and it looked really nice as well. So if you like to make something like this, just look for something that looks similar. You don't always have to copy exactly. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So I have a tiny piece of pattern paper here. So let's go ahead and draft out the upper part. I'm going to take this area here where I have my ruler as the shoulder. So I'm going to start by drawing a starting line across the shoulder. So this is kind of like our shoulder line. So from here I'm going to go ahead and take all the other measurements. So the next measurement is just going to be her shoulder to waist, and for my little niece her shoulder to waist was about 8 inches, so I'm marking this at 8.5. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and draw a straight line across as well. So we have the shoulder line and waistline. Okay, so now from the center here I'm going to determine her neck line. The neckline I'm going to be putting for her is not going to be too deep or too wide, so I went in by 1.25 inch for her neck width and then came down by 2 inches for her neck depth. All right, so that it's not too big. You can see how nicely it sat on her neckline. So that's it. I just went ahead to connect the both points to give me a round neckline. Now the next thing is her shoulder measurement. So her shoulder measurement is 8. I'll divide that by 2 and that gave me 4. So from the center here, I came in by that 4 inches and I made a mark. Now, because this is a child, I'm just going to be coming down by half an inch for the shoulder slope, okay? Instead of 1 inch that you would do for an adult, all right? So now I'm going to go ahead and connect from this half an inch shoulder slope to the top of the neckline, just like you see me doing like this. Now, when you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is to get your client's armhole depth. Now, this is a child as well, so I'm using 3.5 for her armhole depth. So I came down by 3.5 from the shoulder slope and I'm drawing a straight line across as you can see. So now I'm going to go ahead and draw out the armhole. So this is now our chest line. So I'll connect from here down here to get my armhole. So first I will just draw a normal straight line. And then on this chest line, I'm going to divide her bust measurement by 4 and I'm going to make a mark here. Bust measurement divided by 4. So to get the armhole from the shoulder slope down to the chest line, I'll just try and get the middle. Now you can omit this, but it's not a bad thing to do it as well. So from that middle point, I just went in by 1/4 inch, okay, just to have a little bit of niceness to the curve. So I'm going to connect now my armhole from the shoulder slope to that midpoint I got and then down to the bust measurement that I divided by 4 earlier. So all the points together like this gives me my armhole. Now the next thing I want to do is to determine my dart, where I'm going to be placing it. So I'm going to be marking 2.25 inch here on the waist and also on the chest line, okay, and I'm going to join the both lines together with a straight line. So now on this line, on the waistline, I'm going to go out on both sides by 1/4 inch here and then 1/4 inch on this other side. That's just because she's a child. For an adult, I will normally do 1/2 inch on both sides. So I'll just connect this now to the top of this line, which is on the chest line. It's actually the same thing as doing this for an adult. So this is what it looks like, okay? So now once you're through with that, the next thing you want to do is to add her body measurement, her bust measurement divided by 4. I just marked it again on the chest line. And then on the waist, you mark her waist measurement divided by 4. But because there's a dart on the waist, you have to measure and replace back the dart. Now I'm going to be adding extra 1.5 inch for stitching allowance on the armhole area and also on the waist area as well. So now I'll finally be joining the last lines together. So if you look at my line, it looks as though it's curved. The waist area is bigger because actually this is a child. Her stomach is actually bigger than her bust area, so that's why this is looking a little bit more open on the waist area. Okay, so it's normal for a child to have a bigger stomach than chest. So now I'm done drafting out the pattern. I'm just going to go ahead and cut out. This is what it looks like. So by the time we stitch down our darts and everything, it's going to look actually nice. So this is what I'm going to be using to cut out both the front and the back. Now to cut out the front and the back, you need to fold your fabric into four. Okay, so you fold it into two first and then fold it again into two to make it four. But the second fold should not get all the way to the end, just like I've done it here is how you should do it. You should leave about 1.5 inch before the end of the second fold. That's going to serve as your zipper allowance for the back part. Okay, so once you're through with that, go ahead and place your pattern paper just like I've placed it now on the second fold like this, the front pattern paper, and then go ahead and pin it down. We're going to be cutting out the front and the back together like I said before. Okay, so the neckline for the back is going to be different. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to extend the neckline from the front into the pattern like this, into the fabric. And then from the line I just drew, I came down by 1 inch, which is the neck depth for the back of this dress. All right. Okay. So now the neck depth for the back is 1 inch. So now I can go ahead and cut out the neckline for the back first together. But when it comes to the front, you have to cut out the front neckline alone, just like I've done. All right. So now you can cut the shoulder together for both the front and the back. Cut out the armhole area. Remember, we've already added stitching allowances to this dress. So at the bottom here, I will just add 1/2 inch to use for the stitching. And then lastly, on this side, I don't really need to add stitching allowance, so I'll just cut it out directly. So this way we are done cutting out both the front and the back, and we have zipper allowance at the back. So I'll just go ahead and cut out lining for the both of them later. Now for the flare part that is going to make it a full dress, you will need to fold some part of your fabric into four, okay, which is what I've done here. When you fold it into four, go ahead and iron it out. It will look exactly like what I have here. All right, so you should have a point where you have two folds like this, like the one I have here, and then you will have the other side fully folded. So you have something like this on one side and then have a full fold on the other side. So now we're going to be getting the waist for this dress. Okay, so her waist is 22, but I'm going to be using more than 22 because I want to make gathers, and also we need to have that zipper allowance at the back. So 22 divided by 4 is 5.5. All right, but I'm not going to be using 5.5 exactly. I'm going to be using about 6.5 so that I will have extra for stitching allowance and for the little gathers I want to make. So that's 6.5. I just used it to create a rough curve C and made a mark on one point. So from that mark I made all the way to the top of my fabric here, what I have is about 4 inches. Okay, so that 4 inches now I'm using it to draw all the way around to get my curve. So I'll keep placing my tape at the point, at the starting point, and then drawing out my curve all the way around, just like you see me doing like this. It's actually very simple. So now the next thing will be to get the length of the skirt part. Okay, so now the upper part was 8.5 when I was drafting, remember? So the full length of this dress is 24 minus 8 is going to give me the measurement that I will need to have for the skirt part of this dress. So what I need is about 16 inches. Okay, so I'm marking this out at 16.5. All right, so now for this length of the skirt, you're going to be placing your tape on the first curve that we drew out earlier. You can see what I'm doing exactly, so just follow exactly what I'm doing in the video and you will get the same result. So keep placing the tape on the first line and then drawing out the 16.5 inches point as you go. Okay, so now this will make it a full dress for her. She's a little baby. The full length of this dress is 20 2 inches. Yes, 22. That's what I need it to be by the time I'm done with everything. So by the time I add this flare to the upper part, it's definitely going to give me that full length. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut this out, and then I'll go ahead and cut it out underneath here as well. So just like I am going to do on the upper part, I'm also going to cut out lining pieces for this one as well. So now I've cut out lining pieces for the both of them. So this is for the actual fabric for the skirt part, and then this is for the upper part, the front and the back pieces. Okay. So we're going to go over to the sewing machine and start stitching it down. To do this, you just pick one of your opening here. This is the actual fabric. I'm going to open up the flare on one side. So always do this on one side. Okay. So if you open it up, you notice that it's not like a full flare like this. So I'm going to do the same thing on the lining as well. Just go ahead and open on one side. So once you're through with this, now you can go ahead and line the both actual fabric and lining together. So I'll place them right sides facing each other. Mikado doesn't really have a right side, like that's quite difficult to find, but whichever side you're using as your right side, just go ahead and place it along with the lining and go ahead and stitch it down together. And then for the upper part, is actually just the same as any other thing. Just place the lining and the actual fabric together, right sides facing each other. I'll go ahead and stitch around the neckline and the sides before I will now go ahead and stitch the dart. It's the same thing I'll be doing on the back pieces as well. Just place them together, right sides, and then cover with the lining. Okay, on both sides, go ahead and stitch around the neckline, the center back, and the sides. Alright, so I'm done stitching it down, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so this is the front, and these are the two back pieces. And like I said before, I've also done the exact same thing for the skirt part, which is what you see here. Now for the skirt part, when I was stitching it down, I noticed that it was shorter on the lining here. Okay, so what I did is, since it's not the actual fabric that is shorter, what I did was to add extra fabric to the lining to make it complete instead of cutting it off my actual fabric. I hope you guys understand. Sometimes if you do a lot of flare, you notice this. From when you fold, you notice that by the time you're stitching it down, either one of the two, lining or actual fabric, is shorter. If it's your lining that is shorter, just add some extra fabric to make it complete. So now I'm just going to go over to the shoulder area, and I'm going to stitch down the shoulder of both the front and the back pieces together, and then stitch down the dart. So this is what I have, as you can see. Okay, I've pinned away the zipper allowance at the back for now. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to place a band around the waist where I'm going to be fixing all those stones. So I just folded a fabric that is 3 inches wide into two equal halves with my iron, and I'm just going to go ahead and just place it on the waist, just like you see me doing, like this. Okay, so just fold a fabric, cut it out to 3 inches, fold it into two, it will give you this exactly, and then go ahead and pin it around the waist, and of course trim off the excesses that you will have on the side. So now the next thing after this is you're going to be joining the sides together. Now to do this, because I want to have belt to tie this dress at the back, I am going to be adding the belt now before I join it together. Okay, so let me just first of all pin down the sides before I place the belt. I already went ahead to stitch down the belt. All right, so it's just to fold like 3 inches of fabric as well into two, and fold it open, bring it out on one end, and then go ahead and place it now from the inside. So this is one of my belt. I'm placing it from the inside, and I'm making sure that it's about half inch away from the end of this half length. Okay, don't take it all the way to the end, because you need that half inches of space to be able to join the upper and the bottom part of the skirt. Okay, you can actually even just mark about half inch away like I've done here, so that when you place it, you're not placing it exactly on the end of the half length. Okay, so just go ahead and pin it down like this. All right, so I'm going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch this down. So I'll start my stitch about half inch away from the armhole area and take it all the way down half inch away from the armhole area, because we have not attached our sleeves yet. So now this is what I have after I was done stitching it down. I've turned it over to the right side. So I said half inch away from the armhole area here. And then at the bottom part, just take it all the way down. So you can see our ropes here that we'll be using to tie at the back. All right. So now what I'm going to do is to turn this around again. I pinned down the zipper allowance area earlier, so now is to open it up, and I'm going to be fixing the bottom part with the upper part. Remember, I told you guys that I made the waist a little bit bigger because I wanted to make very small gathers on it before adding it to the skirt part. So now what I went ahead to do was around the waist, I made a gather stitch. So I made a gather stitch around the waist, and I'm going to go ahead now and pull on it. I'm going to pull on it and use the measurement I measured around the whole waist of the upper part to determine the measurement I'm supposed to have here on the skirt part. So the skirt part here, you can see I'm measuring it around, and what I have left is about 5 inches. So it's that 5 inches I will use to make my gathers. So I'm going to just go ahead and start pulling on one of my gather threads, just like you see me do like this. This is quite difficult because this is Mikado and it's actually very thick, but I'm going to be very patient with this and pull on it until it gives me the gathers that I want. So I was trying to make the gathers on the other side and the thread broke. So what I would do is I will have to redo that gather, and after which I'm going to now join the upper part and the bottom part together just like this, but that will be after I have redone the gather stitches here. Okay, so once I'm done doing the gather again, I'm going to join the upper and bottom part together. So guys, this is what it looks like after I was done joining it down. Okay, and you can see we have our tie rope at the back. This is what I have. This is what it's looking like on the inside. Now the next thing I want to do is I am going to go ahead and fix my zipper to the center back. So like I said before, the method I'm using for the making of this dress is the type that is easily adjustable, because the mom said I should make sure of that so that she can adjust it as the baby is growing. Okay, so now I'm just pinning down the center back. I left a lot of space at the top where I'll be fixing my zipper. Okay, so from here I'll make a straight stitch, and from this place upward I'm going to fix a zipper. So from here a straight stitch, and then the upper part I'm going to fix my zipper here. So straight stitch down and then have your zipper at the top. So this is what it looks like after I was done. Okay, fixing the zipper to the back. All right, now it's actually coming out nice. So now you can actually tie this to the back nicely, right? So now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to fix the sleeves. So now for the sleeve, I cut out this tiny short sleeve. As you can see, it's very short and it's very small. That's what I'm going to be placing around the armhole. Now all you have to do is to just remember, I said do not uh cover it up fully. We left half an inch on the sides when we're joining it so that we'll be able to fix the sleeve. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin the sleeve all the way around the armhole, and then go over to the sewing machine and stitch it down. So I'm done pinning it around now, as you can see. So I'm just going to go over to the sewing machine and stitch the sleeve down on the sleeve area, and then I will go ahead and join the sides of the sleeve together to finish up the sleeve. So guys, after I was done with the sleeve, I did not have enough time to film the process for the making of the flowers. So what I did was to just place the flowers on top of the sleeve that I had already done, because her mom was really on my neck and I really had to finish it, and filming at the same time would be more difficult. And then the waist area where we had our band there, I just went ahead to fix my beads and stones, as you can see. And after everything, this is what it looks like on her. So yeah, that's basically all for this. Thank you so much for watching. I will definitely be seeing you guys in my next video.